While Venus is going through Aquarius, and this is, kind of fast, she's going to retrograde here, I believe. When does she retrograde again? I don't have my dates in front of me. So I have, or did she just come out? I think she just came out of retrograde, didn't she? Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
No, she hasn't gone into retrograde yet. No, she's still chugging along. So, well, wait, I don't know. Sorry, what?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, what year are we doing it now too?
Now we're in 2025. Or she's going retrograde. Yeah, she's almost there. So she's gonna be stationary around the 22nd. Okay, and then she's gonna go retrograde. But I don't get, Nikki might want to talk about the retrogrades. I don't get into that too much. It doesn't apply in Mesopotamia. They just saw the planets as being the wandering stars. From the Book of Enoch, Wandering Stars, if you guys, Yes. Okay. So anyways, they just kind of go back and forth, and that's just their domain. Sometimes they're brighter, sometimes they're dimmer. And in Babylon in particular, the brightness, which would have been when it's going direct, that would have just been more intense energy, whereas dimness, it just doesn't have as much power. Sometimes it can even, if it related to Mars, and again, this is Babylon only, it could have been a negative thing. Or no, it was a positive because Mars was the god of war. But like I said, I don't do Babylonian astrology too much. So regardless, Venus's placement or trekking here through Aquarius is this was Enki. This is the constellation of innovation. As far as I have found, Neptune in particular is basically synonymous with this Enki energy. I think it's a coincidence that he was a water god and Neptune is obviously, god of the sea and whatnot. But either way, when I have tracked them, they have been very similar. There is one of the things we don't usually talk about. Enki does have really strong libido. It actually gets them into trouble at certain points. So sometimes if Aquarius doesn't have an outlet, if you have strong Aquarius in your chart and you don't have an outlet for some of that the refined, scientific or creative, artistic expression that you have, it can come back to bite you and it can become a little destructive. But while Venus is in here, she's going to be opening that up. And this can be really good for communication. So like the kind we were talking with Nikki, like something that she needs, it's going to open up her heart to more expression, to more refined expression. And I don't know, Nikki, this seems like a really good time. Well, pretty much for anybody, Friar, you too, to jump out there on social media and potentially start, reaching more people. Her conjunction here with Saturn towards the mid part of the month, I think is probably also a benefit. She's really soft here in Aquarius. I think she works very well. It's not like her going to war or anything like that, because she can do those things. Now, when she gets in here to Pisces, this is another really soft placement for her. Right? Okay, so these two fish of Pisces, Anunatum, Nanshe, Caddis, however you want to look at them, were basically versions of Venus too. But this is her and her soft, maternal, altruistic, nurturing guys. She's more related to fertility, and she's basically going to be, she's going to be more nurturing and loving, and then she's going to connect back with Saturn. Again, I suspect that's a good thing for society as a whole. These so far, and I'm not going into detail, I know I'm isolating the planets, but this really gives people the opportunity to heal some things on like a global scale and, in your individual life. As we go into this portion of which I still consider tied up with Pisces. So Aries is, this was actually the husband of Venus. His name was Demuzid. He was a shepherd. He was paternal, but he was also soft and sensual. He had a lot of sexual energy in there too. She talks about him. There's lots of erotic poetry about the pair. But it's also wrapped up in here in Ketis, the head of Ketis in particular, who was the primordial mother goddess in Babylon and really just relates to the stuff of the cosmos. So this is a very creative portion of the sky. Now, as she moves into here, this is when things can start to get a little bit more chaotic. Now we're looking at, what do we see here? This is, you guys help me, June, yeah? June into the July time period. Now the downside to this is, and this is going to be, what do we want to say, right at the beginning of July, Venus, when she is in certain positions, she is said to wear a beard. And that's basically a code for This is when she goes into like war mode and she can get real scary. Okay. So if I'm looking for anything going on in relation to her being like goddess of war and kind of doing the petulant, throwing tantrums and like fucking shit up, so to speak, this time right here, where she's conjunct with the Pleiades, which were synonymous with Mars, but they were specifically his weapons of war. This is one of those times that I would be very cautious of. Now, the good news, saving us, I think, from, so I wouldn't call this a nuclear war necessarily. Some of the good things going on in here are, we have the sun in Gemini, which again, this is, happens every year around the same time. This does soften some of our relationships with each other. It's also conjunct with Jupiter. Jupiter is also a really powerful planet. But these both here in Gemini are going to connect us to other people. So while, yes, from a global scale, there is a very real potential for some sort of, I don't want to call it global catastrophe, because this is more like the goddess of war time period in here and through July. I do think that we have maybe some saving grace and like cooler heads may prevail, but it's not a guarantee. At the same time, we have Mars right here in Leo. He's another god of war, very close to Regulus. This kind of turns on some of the more aggressive masculine aspects of Mars. I don't think that it doesn't look good. Okay. So if I'm looking for, something bad to happen, and I'm just trying to keep an eye out for good or bad. This period right at the beginning of July is probably the one that I would look for. And like I said, it's not great, let me see. She starts to soften up though right around mid-July, which, I mean, as long as she's in Taurus, she's getting, she's still a little feisty, but I think there's like that maybe a 2 to 4 week span right before the beginning, so mid-June to mid-July, where we have potentially some issues. She's going to soften up. So this portion that Niki was talking about, Mesopotamia, all 4 of these were constellations in the Sumerian zodiac. This up here was very similar to this Aries figure that I told you. It was Dumuzid, the crook, and he was a shepherd. He was very paternal. But this figure down here was the true shepherd of Anu, and he was basically a stand-in or an emissary of the supreme celestial god of creation. And he has no tolerance for lies or wickedness or any of those things. So as we get into the middle part of this constellation, we have a lot of creative power pouring out of the Hyades over here, but we start to soften it up. We start to temper some of this warlike energy from Venus, and she starts to kind of get her head put back on straight. She becomes a little bit softer, a little bit more emotional. What we got over here? She's going to be conjunct in August with Jupiter. Jupiter's going to keep her under control. Okay. So I would not look at this as there being some sort of, and some people might see Venus and Jupiter as a negative. I don't know what they do out there, guys. I can't vouch for any of it, but I will tell you that Venus and Jupiter together, he was like the master of the cosmos basically. And he's not going to let her go totally buck wild. Not that she would in Gemini anyways. So I do think that's another thing that's probably going to, if I was looking for like peace deals, treaties, something like that, I would say that's a really good possibility. Maybe mid-August. Where was my Venus here? Back up, and she's going to head into Cancer. I also think this is going to keep her under wraps. This is her in the underworld, where this is not her reign. This is not her domain where she has a lot of power. So she can't really do a whole lot. It's going to be more internal. So this is something that you guys are going to want to use on your own end. If you were going to go on vacation, or maybe, take a break from something, go on to a conference and like do some deep inner work. That's probably what I would do. Now she does get a little feisty again here in Regulus. This was one of her other constellations. She's conjunct with Regulus on September 19th. Now, the breast of the lion was basically one of her stars, and this is her right in her guise as the goddess of war. Now she's not necessarily here trying to start problems, okay? But will she solve the problems? Will she step up and defend herself, her family, whatever? Yeah, she will. She's not going to mess around. She's not going to wuss out. Okay. So if somebody else, I can't say, if somebody else out there, one of these countries is going to start something, she may step up and finish it, so yeah, if we are looking for something to do with potential war or global issues. That's definitely a potential time frame. We're going to go, hold on, I don't know, hopefully you guys can see what's happening up here. Venus, I know me and Niki, we've talked about this before. I like Venus in Virgo. I think it softens her up. This kind of puts her in home. She's in like mom mode, tuned into nature and the cosmos. She's in here with the sun at the same time. He's going to keep her under wraps. In Mesopotamia, this was her twin brother, and he was always talking her off the ledge. So he's, his placement up here is really good. I know everybody's talking about like financial crashes and market issues. I do think that the sun with Venus in here at the same time is probably going to, keep things relatively stable. Now, I haven't looked at the other planets going through. We're going to do that in a minute, but I do just want to make it through the rest of the year. So into November, she becomes much more social. She opens up here in Libra a little bit. I think that that's probably a plus for her. And she's going to go conjunct with Antares with the sun at the same time, which again, I think this is a positive. This to me looks like, so if you guys don't know, I know we talk about it like every call, but basically Antares she was the Lisi goddess, and she was known to be able to soothe the hearts of the angry deities. And if you have a strong Antares in your chart, or like if you're watching your chart through the day, see what's going on, this is what brings out the drama. It's not your drama, it's other people's drama, and it comes to you because there are people who are needing of it being solved. So sometimes Venus here can bring out like the worst in people and like bring it to you and like kind of lance the festering wounds so you can deal with whatever else is going on. But again, the sun's close proximity to Venus means he's keeping her on the down low, and they're both in here. They're tag teaming this, and they're basically going to keep it from becoming something bigger. As a matter of fact, there is a potential for like if we're looking for larger peace deals or treaties or like cooperation from other people. Same thing even into December, they're all going to be conjunct. So Venus and Mars by themselves here, sometimes that can be real intense, very emotional, very unpredictable. But with the sun here, he's keeping them both, he's keeping them calm. And it's a time of like justice, and it's good. Okay. Right at the same time. So we're coming up around this time next year. It's definitely a plus. All right. So I'm going to swing back to now, and I'm going to let Niki take over. And Niki, I'll walk through this on this chart while you go through with Venus if you want to. I know there's other stuff you want to see with Venus. I do have my other chart up, but I don't want to switch it out yet because I want to, if we want to look at just the U.S., I have the solar returns ready, and we can take a look at like some of the aspects. But if you talk about them and stuff, I'll pop back and forth here if that's good with you. Yeah, Niki, are you alive? Are you there?
Oh my God, sorry. Okay. I didn't realize I had muted myself. I pulled up the solar return right here.
Do you want to switch screens? Do you have? Oh, you were just looking at it. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to send it to you, but oh my God, I'm like not having a fun time screenshotting my stuff. It's just being silly. So
no worries.
I know. I'm so technologically like at a disadvantage. I don't know why. I just feel like I might have like old person syndrome when it comes to technology.
You don't.
Oh my God. Okay, so well, if you go to we could check out like the solar return. So like July 4th of 2025. Yeah, that's going to be the United States solar return right on the day. Yeah. Wow. It's pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah, and it happens to be that same time period with Venus conjunct to the Pleiades book.
Yeah, it does. It happens to be the same, but it's also conjunct Uranus too. So can we see that in there? Are they together? Yeah, they're together.
That is correct. You are correct.
Yeah. So when they're together, I see that kind of being a little bit more like, okay, so Uranus is the rebellious one, the one that causes and shakes a lot of shit up. Yeah, yeah. And I do like to see, I do like to picture Uranus as like the Prometheus character, I mean, from myth. So I can't get rid of that. I've tried. So I kind of see those two actually, and not creating stability or anything like that, but I'm just not seeing like we're going to war at that time. I do see there being some changes, obviously, going on with the way we communicate. Mars being in Leo, and then we have almost a Jupiter return, kind of like I could see that being like more of a flex of power. Because when we go back a little bit earlier into like April, and we look at the April 20th transits, then we can see that we have like the North Node conjunct with Saturn and Neptune and Venus on April 20th. And I think that's important because we have it's kind of a collective thing. You know, here we have Saturn on the North Node, which is this collective, like almost like fated commitment or responsibility. Saturn and the Neptune, you know, we have these communication planet, this planet that is about innovative ideas and connecting together. And it's also the South Node at that time is going to be almost conjunct the United States Neptune, natal Neptune in Virgo. So to me, it's definitely going to change the way we do everything when it comes to communicating, AI, social networking, community building. It's almost like the whole, not just the United States, but like the whole world changes. So is it Skynet? I mean, God, I don't know. But when I see that conjunction happen in April, that kind of makes me a little worried, a little sweaty. and I think Venus there smooths it over. I mean, it's obviously not going to be like doom and gloom. I mean, these are just I'm just trying to tell you guys, like, I just don't see us going to war. Okay, like I don't see that this year at all. Actually, I'd see like there are things happening. Obviously, there's going to be definitely some like social stuff on the United States front. We're probably going to have some border issues, but looking at that, like looking at the solar return chart and looking at those major conjunctions, those major things, I think it's definitely has something to do with the internet, the way we communicate, AI, possibly the UAP that we have flying around that nobody's really talking about. Like it's not even on the news anymore.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of stuff about it. And Niki, that's actually really interesting that you mentioned it. I think you're right. I think this period again. Wouldn't get hung up on the exact date, you guys. I don't think that that's wise because these energies interact with each other like in days before and after. But with Neptune here and Mercury, so if I'm looking for news, so if you watch Mercury in a day-to-day chart, you can see almost exactly when somebody's going to contact you, when you get a message, when you like you learn new information. Okay. If we're looking for like a disclosure situation where we're going to find out some big news, either UFOs are real or we're going to find out that Skynet has become self-aware or whatever it is, this actually would be a really good time period for this. Right at this, what you're saying. But the only thing I would say is with Venus, I really think Venus's placement in Pisces is going to be much softer, which would probably soften all of these. So I would say that it's probably something beneficial overall.
Yeah.
I mean, continue. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, there's definitely some kind of secrets coming out, some type of stuff. And it could be related to, it really could be related to spiritual, religious ideas. It could really be letting go of a lot of the old ways of thinking and doing things in spirituality. And I know we don't want to always connect. No, I don't want to always connect Neptune to spirituality, but I do feel like with Neptune being one of the furthest reaching outside planets, it has that connection to divinity. There is definitely some type of connection there, like just my own like feelings about it. But yeah, I think we could actually see disclosure this year. I do. I don't think that they're going to be able to hide what's going on very much longer. When I look at the solar return, I see a lot of communication, a lot of communication stuff coming through, a lot of like rebranding, you know, like a lot of redoing in a different kind of way, and not necessarily in a violent way either. They know these signatures, like these planetary returns, they, you know, what was going on at the time. That's why I wanted to go back and look and show people like, hey, like just because this is happening doesn't mean that we're going to go to war. Just because this happens doesn't mean that it's going to happen again. Like, I think Friar, you said it best, like it doesn't always repeat itself, but it rings the same way or something like that.
It rhymes.
It rhymes. Oh, I love that. Yeah, because that's really what's happening with a lot of our issues and our social issues here in the United States. Because when Pisces or Saturn was going through Pisces last time and in 95, all those same issues are still here. Universal health care, the partial birth, abortion ban, what the hell else? Yeah, the women's reproductive rights, all of that. Like universal health care got denied, the Republican revolt, we had government shutdowns. I mean, so there's all of those same things happening right now.
Specific to
same
the
issues.
US.
Specific to the US. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's how I tied Saturn into Pisces, because I was like, okay, like we're involved with a lot of other people, and a lot of our wealth and what we bring in depends on international business and international relations. So like we have to keep those in good standing, but it's definitely going to change how we are seen out there and to the rest of the world.
Niki, are you just looking at the static chart right now, the solar return? Is that what you're looking at?
I was glancing back at it, but yeah, I did looked at it already. So
Okay.
I kind of already remember where everything is.
Did you have other dates for Venus interactions through this
No,
year?
actually, I'm really glad
How's
you
the
covered Venus, because I didn't. I looked at like Saturn and Mars and and Jupiter, because they're more like they initiate those like life processes, and then we see them through, you know, Mercury and Venus and you know, the moon, but we weren't going to look at the moon. So
Yeah, it's moving too fast.
yeah, it does. We're the United States is a Virgo moon though, if that makes sense to anybody.
Okay, well then 1 second. We're gonna.
Is it a Virgo moon? No, wait, hold on. I was looking. It's
I don't know.
Aquarius
I
moon.
have to
I was
look.
looking at the solar return. Sorry, we have a solar return Virgo moon.
I'd have to. I can barely remember my own stuff, you guys. I look at too many charts.
Yeah, I did. I've been looking at so many. My eyes are actually like crossing.
Well, let me.
Because I jumped from this date to that date. I was all over the place because it was like a big web of like, oh my God, history. This is awesome. And I found out something really cool about Friar. He got to meet Bill Clinton. Did you know that? He got to meet the President of the United States.
I did.
That's pretty fucking dope. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, he taught me how to pick up girls. It was great.
Yeah. Do you guys play music together? Did he bust out the saxophone?
Yeah,
and
we had a little jammy whammy, you know.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Actually, we talked about old cars.
that is even better. That's right.
I love my Mustang.
cool.
It's really great. I really like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good. You practice impressions. You have to. There's no way you don't practice.
Yeah. Do Bill again.
I don't know. Well, first of all, if I'm going to do a Bill Clinton impersonation, I'm going to need your personal phone number, Niki.
I love it. You're good at those. You're super good at those.
You guys, let me swing through these, and we'll take a. I do have the static charts up, so I can. Are you looking at which solar return for the U.S. are you looking at? 24 or 25?
25.
Okay. All right, that's good. Do you have specific dates or anything or time periods for Mars that you wanted me to focus in on?
No, not at all. not at all. I actually barely looked at Mars. I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure he wasn't in our second house.
Okay. Let me fly through these. I already covered a lot of these constellations, so it'll probably go by pretty quickly, you guys. But let me see here. Hold on. Center. You guys, if you don't know, sometimes people ask. This program is Stellarium. Download it for free, stellarium.org. It's awesome. And it's planetarium software, so it's like not polluted by new age nonsense. So just so you guys know. All right, so as you can see, Mars is right now right at home in the underworld, which this was the entrance, one of the entrances to the underworld. So stand by. Sorry. I have to, like, I don't know, you guys can't tell, I'm like constantly waving my family off, like I'm definitely busy right now. So this is a really good place for him. This is him like right at home. I think he works very well in Cancer, and that's going to kind of calm things down. He's also pretty at home here in Gemini. Now, if you read the Babylonian omens, though, Mars in Gemini tends to come up with some sometimes like illnesses and whatnot. Now, you guys don't think that this is global pandemic stuff. Keep in mind, Mars is moving through these constellations every few years. It's really not like a big deal. I don't think there's anything negative about Mars's placement here, other than we're all a little bit maybe more sensitive, which, you know, can obviously be an issue. I wouldn't look at this if I'm looking for like global portents of anything traumatic for good or ill. He's just going to be swinging back through his home into May, going into Mars. Now, this one is tricky, and we kind of talked about this already. Leo. Leo is also one of his planets, constellations. And when he's in here, it can become like it lights this constellation up with more of this warlike energy, more masculine, kind of hyper masculine, ego driven, very sensitive, you know. It's not great, especially right around, this is going to be mid-June. And if I recall, that's the period that didn't we talk about mid-June earlier, just on this very call, you guys?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that's okay. That is like okay, yeah. I know I said that on a different call. I think it was like our meditation call, and you were like, I'm going to hold you to it, because I do think if anything's going to happen, it's going to be when Mars goes into Leo sometime.
Yeah, summertime's tricky. And this isn't just for the United States. This is, at least so far, I haven't looked at the United States in particular. This is a potentially dangerous situation. I do think justice may prevail here with the Sun and Jupiter in this portion of the sky. I think that that's of benefit. But even Venus here in the middle, the head of Ketis, she was not just a the cosmic mother, she was also a terrifying warrior. So you know, Venus there can go either way. This will be interesting, and this is the beginning of that mid-June to mid-July time period where I said things were kind of iffy. So if you're looking for something like that, you know, maybe I probably wouldn't. If you guys are planning vacations, like I might not plan my vacation during that time. So, you know, like I'm just putting it out there for you.
Yeah.
Mars, the whole period of Mars being in Leo is not necessarily bad, but it does correlate to that same time period we said was tricky earlier on, which if you see it doubled up in the chart somewhere, that's definitely something to pay attention to. Now, Mars moving through Virgo is not inherently bad, at least, you know, as far as the world is concerned. Now, Virgo is a financial constellation. All the way really to Antares, we're going to be dealing with financial stuff. So if we're looking for financial triggers, this would probably be the time. Now, I can't tell you just based on this. So far, I'm not seeing like a global financial market collapse or anything like that. If I were, and again, if I'm going to look for something negative, just so I can, you know, put some warnings out there for you. This period where Mars connects with Spica, which is the health and wealth constellation, this is potentially a little volatile. It's not a guarantee that it's even a negative, but it could definitely be a big disruption. Yeah, that's that whole period looks like through September. That's interesting. And it happens to coincide with this Venus Regulus. That's not great, you guys. I'm just being honest with you. It doesn't look good here. In the moon, or excuse me, the sun is like very spread out between both of these. So he doesn't have that influence to kind of keep both of them under wraps. But interesting, definitely interesting. But we move out of that time period pretty relatively quickly, and then already into October, things should kind of settle down a little bit more. Now there is right mid-October this Mercury-Mars conjunction. When we're looking at it from a global perspective, sometimes this can be somebody starting some problems. People getting offended. You're hearing new information, and it's not always good. You got like, you know, these masculine, very aggressive, unbalanced masculine energies kind of, you know, talking smack to each other on a global scale. That's not great, right? That's not the type of thing that we want, but that seems to occur right around this October 20th time period. We go into, we kind of already talked about this because this is when Venus and Mars, so things do settle down. It's not a constant, okay? This does not read to me like global chaos and it's the end of the world and whatnot. And that's going to lead us right into the same time period. Niki, did you have anything to say with Mars in particular before I pop on to just a couple of the other ones real quick?
No, not really. Not really. I do want to add, like, I know that we do have like problems here in the country that are obviously just like our civil problems, not outside of the country. So I think a lot of those upsets that you're seeing are a lot of like just us, you know, because I know a lot of people, everybody actually, every single person I've ever talked to is just really sick of this shit. The United States is just not taking care of its people. They're not doing what we want them to do at all. They're like just being not cool, man. Let's just put it that way. So, I mean, there is going to be some readjustments. There are going to be some things going on that I can't tell you what's going to happen exactly. But I think it's we can just see from looking at the past and now looking at like what's going on now that there's definitely going to be some shifts and some pushing and some changes. I don't necessarily think it's going to be like violence against the masses.
Well, let's hope not.
I hope not. Yeah, I hope not. Maybe like, you know, a little like, you know, people revolt, that kind of stuff.
Revolt. No violence though. Yes.
Nah, well, I mean, we can do it in peaceful ways. So, I mean, if we don't like corporations taking over everything, stop buying their shit. Okay, stop buying their crappy food, stop buying their crappy drinks, and you can fight the system by, guess what, not participating. You don't buy their shit. If their cereal is full of cancer-causing ingredients, you don't buy it. Send them the message. There's a lot of ways to send the message without there being violence, you know, in my opinion. I mean, I just think on a personal level, if you want to change the world, you have to change your life on the micro level. You know, in order to see anything happen on a micro level, it starts there and it expands. You can change everything by just changing the way you do shit every day. Everybody. I've been meeting people who are so scared of the end of the world. And I'm like, oh my God, it's been the end of the world every day for somebody out there already. So there is no end in sight. Okay. I'm sorry, everybody. Everybody wants Jesus to come down in on a flaming horse with his tattoos and his fucking machine guns and whatever to come save us all.
I'm liking this. Please continue.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what I imagined when I was churchy, and I was like, yeah, fucking Jesus is coming to save us. Like, I want him to be the coolest motherfucker ever. Like, he's gonna come down here, and yeah. So that was my thought anyway. But people still have that. Like, there's somebody that's gonna save us, whether they project that onto a president, a billionaire, something. You are gonna save you, okay? Not some person who's in the government, not some billionaire who doesn't give a shit about the people, really. Like, it's you. So stop thinking like that. Stop thinking that somebody is going to come, this one and only is going to come and save you. That's not going to happen. And the world's not going to end either, because I have a future. I have a long drawn out one. And so I know the world's not going to end. We'll be okay,
Yeah,
guys.
I remember people asking me that before 2012. They were like, at all the psychic readings I was doing, they're like, do you see anything after 2012? I'm like, yeah, it looks like everything just kind of keeps going.
Well, I don't like to do a lot of psychic work. I don't want to get into that anymore. So I think once you crash and burn, you learn your lesson. But when I looked at this presidency and what was going on, like I didn't even see it finishing out. I saw these little flying machines, flying around, and it was a really weird vision. So, and lo and behold, here we have all of these flying, machines, these UAP, drones, whatever they want to call them to feel better. But I mean, have you seen some of the videos? Like, oh yeah, glowing triangles. I shared one on Instagram, and a friend comments, she's like, the kid in the back is so funny. And I was like, there's sound. I went and clicked on it, and there's this little kid from Jersey. He's like, holy fucking shit, look at that, look at that. And he's swearing, and it's the cutest thing. And then he's like, Ma, come look at that. It's so funny. But it robbed it of the seriousness. This is like, what the hell are these glowing things in the sky? Why are they looking like jellyfish? Why are they looking like something we didn't make, we didn't create, we didn't do that? So it's interesting. It'll be a really cool development if it all just drops off and falls away and nothing ever happens and with it, and we never see it again.
It's not gonna.
I don't think it will.
People are. It just can't.
Yeah, in the past we've been told that they show up and they only like really want to be seen and known when there's a lot of nuclear talk and nuclear war talk, and obviously there's a lot of shit going on, between us and between, the folks in the Middle East. I mean, everybody seems like they're upset about something right now. We got the war in Gaza going on. There's war all over the place all the time. So, yeah, I mean, we can't keep it up forever, guys. We can't keep coming up with excuses to just ethnically cleanse land and say it's in the name of religion, because it's just, when you find out that, there's other beings out there and there's other entities, what does that do to your value system and the foundations that you were raised on? What does that do to a person who's never had to think about it ever in their whole entire life? Like me, I've thought about it forever. I'm just like, I've always been thinking about it. I'm like, oh, this is exciting. But for some folks, it just scares the shit out of them. There's probably a majority of, I don't know, the country, the world. What do you do when everything you've ever known just kind of gets zapped and thrown out the window? And I think that could happen. We could have some information, some secret stuff come through that just blows everybody away.
And it looks just April, right? Early to mid-April seems like the time.
Yeah, between April and like probably July, maybe even before that, maybe even like March. Somewhere in between there, I think we're going to see something happen. Something's going to come out. Something's going to have to be, said. But it's going to something's coming out about it anyway.
Yeah, it's already happening.
Yeah,
it has to at this point. People are not buying it anymore.
No.
Let me. I might be able to pick something out for the country individually. Let me tackle this real quick. It's not super interesting with Jupiter, because Jupiter moves pretty slowly and it's like hitting all of these same constellations. It's been in Taurus for a few months. It's been going back and forth. It looks really cool in the sky, you guys. You should definitely go check it out close to Aldebaran. But it's basically moving through Jupiter or Taurus. This is a very creative portion. The Hyades is very creative. Without going into all the details. Again, we get this pulling from all four of these constellations during like the mid part of the month. Now, this is, if we're looking for like justice is coming, you know, somebody getting their comeuppance. This is kind of the time. And again, this puts us in a really weird position in the middle part of the summer, like early to midsummer. I can't say, I've already seen it in other places where that's going to be pretty active, but this is definitely kind of tricky. As it gets closer, though, into Gemini, I do think it's going to soften this up a little bit more. So hopefully, again, it looks like there's a couple month period where things are a little chaotic, and then maybe again in the fall. Where is our Saturn? I don't know how far Saturn's making it this far into the year. Let's see. So basically, we're just getting it from, it's finally starting to really move into Pisces. Now, Saturn in Mesopotamia, this was not a negative planet, you guys. This was Ninurta, and he was awesome at everything. He was the god of wisdom and knowledge and healing. He basically created society. But when we're looking at like a civilizational planet, and like a societal planet, this is definitely one that we look into, as well as like financial things. Let me see here. He's going in. Let me see some of these bigger conjunctions and stuff. Probably that's not the most interesting right here, but I'm so sorry, you guys. This goes back to, this conjunction is really interesting, this whole period in here. And I think Neptune's right in here too, right, Nikki? I can't see it.
In that, yeah.
This is very interesting.
In Pisces.
If we're looking at a disclosure event or something big happening, what else is happening right around the same time period? And again, this is in the United States, and I hate to be one of those people who are like, oh, the United States is like everything, because it's not. But it obviously has a major impact on all of like global finance and world, you know, politics and just how the world works and whatnot. But this is very interesting, and this seems to happen, I'm going to say, when is this conjunction? This is the Venus-Saturn conjunction right around inauguration time. Interesting. I don't see this inherently as a negative. What else do we have going on? Sun there. Sun there right between Capricorn. No, I don't think that's bad. Mars, I think, is starting to, right in there. Hold on, you guys. This is interesting. This is a big news date, but we're probably just dealing with something related to potentially like the election and stuff. But then we get into, hold on, Saturn, come back, buddy. Yes, I'm talking to the planet like it's alive on my screen. No, again, end of February, interesting news is coming in. Mercury is bringing some sort of news. So what would we give that from the United States perspective? Like a month of basically the new administration coming in and something shifting. There's some sort of shift that comes in. It's going to swing back. We're going to get the Sun-Saturn conjunction, but this is all right. Well, Neptune, I believe we said Neptune was right in the same period. This is fascinating. This is a really, really interesting time in global, like everything, okay, and like societally, as it's all moving into Pisces at the same time. This is a really big shift. This is that early May time period. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. And Pisces is, Pisces is a pretty complex set of stars, and I love how you explain Pisces. Oh my gosh, a Nunatune, is that one of them? Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Yeah. Because I mean, it's a sense of like Pisces. It's like the core of things. Where are we from? What are we doing? Like, why are we here? All of those questions, the mysteries. It's kind of the pulling apart of everything before it comes back together. I think that'll be really interesting. I, personally never really saw the administration moving over. Like, I never like tried to look ahead and look at that, but I'll be interested to see what really happens. I mean, I don't know. I mean, our president-elect is pretty old. The one we have now is like, whoa. Like, where do we find these people? Like, when can we get somebody young and awesome in there? Like fresh ideas. Somebody whose Pluto isn't in Leo. But I'm just saying, anyway, laughing about it because I know everybody loves their politics. They hold it so dear. I'm so sorry. I treat it kind of like a joke, and I just laugh about politics, and I'm sorry, I don't take it as seriously as other people. But I've been watching politics since I was a little kid, and I've been watching the whole like propaganda machine and the cycles go, and it's constantly, well, we're going to change things and we're going to do this and and nothing ever happens. I've been alive for almost 42 years, and I've seen the same patterns going over and over and over again. So we do have like a really good thing going on right now. We have an administration that actually like wants to change things, wants things to be set right. We've got people appointed that are looking at the food, looking at the way we do business, looking at all of those things. So there's like going into this, is there a lot of positivity? But with there being so many attempts on this man's life, I'm not sure what's going to happen next when it comes to his administration. It just kind of, I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. Oh my God, is this serious? But yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be very interesting. Like you said, it's going to be a very interesting transition of power. So.
If I seem surprised, it's because I don't look at this stuff before the calls. I like to be, see like what's coming up, and I'm a busy girl, so I'm not just like staring at the sky nonstop. So it's interesting to me too. Obviously, Saturn's going to be here for a while. I don't see the oppositions in this chart because I'm not looking at it or anything, so I don't know what's going on outside of this. I'm just mostly looking at the conjunctions, and if you guys aren't sure why I do that, that's because these would have been, in Mesopotamia in particular, these are the things that we can actually kind of see what's going on, and that's when they're going to be the most intense. And we can see this from like a potentially electromagnetic and even gravitational pull. When there's a conjunction with a planet, it does vary. It's minuscule, but it does change. It perturbs the planets in their orbit, that's one of the ways that, astronomers can tell that there's other planets in either in our solar system or somebody else's, because they all pull on each other. So that's pretty much everything for Saturn. Neptune's going to be right in the same area the entire time. Now, I didn't really talk about this. We kind of touched on it a little bit before, but as I said, Neptune's very much associated with Aquarius. I think Neptune's presence here is basically going to be, it's a new, like now we're integrating our new technology, AI in particular, into our consciousness, and we're shifting. A lot of people are going to start shifting away from heavily relying on technology. They're still going to rely on it. Okay, we're all basically cyborgs now, right? But a lot of people are going to start detaching and not allowing it to completely, like, just totally run their life. So that'll be probably good. Uranus, help me, Niki. Where's Uranus during this whole basically?
Taurus, yeah.
So like
he's still hanging out there.
Yep, Uranus is going to be in here now. I didn't talk about this when Venus was over here before, but so if you guys care, if you want to know my take from having tracked these planets for a long time, Uranus, in my experience, is very much a partnership planet. Okay. It tends to, it's very similar to Capricorn just in general, which if you don't remember, because you're new here and need to know, welcome, like, share, and subscribe, by the way. This was Tashmetu, a goddess of just blessings and devotion and healing, and it's just very empathic, very loving and nurturing, and pretty much all good stuff. I see those trends with Uranus. I have yet to see a negativity trend with Uranus where it relates to anything about upheaval or none of that goofy stuff. But I can tell you that when Uranus and Venus are together, they act very much in like a partnership. They work very well together. Now, I wasn't looking at it because, again, I'm doing ancient astrology, and we can't see it in the sky without like really tuning into it and using a telescope and whatnot. But Uranus's conjunction at the same time with the Pleiades may actually, hold on one second. It may actually negate a lot of that negativity that I talked about up here. This is basically like, if we're looking at this from a global level, we're looking at two countries coming together, forming new partnerships, and maybe now this could be a bad thing. Maybe somebody's ganging up on somebody else. I don't know. But generally speaking, I would say this probably helps us a little bit. It's going to solve some issues. So if you guys are watching, I don't know if anybody out there knows how, and I know different astrologers do it differently, but the way I do a prediction, if we're doing an individual one-on-one reading, I run the planets through the entire year on this program. There's a way to do it. This is Janice. And let me see here, natal calculate. You can basically, you put the internal chart here and then the outside chart on the outside, and we run through the whole, like your whole year and everything. So we can do it that way. But when it comes to like doing a bigger type of prediction, like a solar return is fantastic. And basically what's going on is the sun returns to the same spot in the sky, has nothing to do with the date specifically at the time that you were born. So like, as you can see, the solar return, because there's like a few hundred years here between like the birth date, it's deviated. The sun is actually like the birthday is on July 8th and not the 4th. So we take that and it creates a snapshot in the sky. And that energy, when you compare it to the natal chart, is going to resonate throughout the year. Now, it's not just throughout this year. It's throughout the previous year too. So you have like a 6 to 3 month window on either side of the solar return date, which means we're pretty much already like, we're going to use this 2025 because we're already experiencing some of this stuff. I can tell you a few things offhand, and I'm just going to read this the way I normally would if I was reading like a person's chart. The moon, relatively close to the ascendant. It's not quite conjunct, but it is kind of close in there. Now, this ascendant, the United States' ascendant is in Scorpio. This is a powerful planet. It is a constellation of, depending on where we're looking at, anything from like physical hands-on healing to like advisement type of healing. If we're looking at the tail of the Scorpion, now we're getting into more like decisiveness, military might, that type of thing. There's a lot going on here. But it's a powerful constellation. The moon's placement here gives the United States, okay? It gives the United States the potential to actually get their shit together. I think this is a good thing. Now, is that going to happen? Are they going to negate it? I don't know. I'm going to tell you right now when I go through here and look. I'm just going to go through the conjunctions first. We do have this conjunction with the Imam Chele, thus it's going to be in opposition with the midheaven. Down here, conjunct with Neptune and Saturn at the same time. Now, this is a really big influence placement. When Neptune and Saturn get together, this becomes a lot about outreach, networking, like reaching a lot of people, especially either through technology or marketing. So this is going to have wide reach, but it's not all good. So the United States has to like dig down deep and get real with itself. Or this can come back to bite it. So like basically if this was the United States was a person and they've been doing a bunch of shady business for a really long time and like some corrupt stuff, this is the type of thing where it comes to the surface and people figure it out. So it could be good or bad. It's probably going to be both. It's a lot of lancing of the wounds and the injuries and getting that stuff out. We also have a close proximity in the sky between Ceres and the descendant. Now, this is a societal interaction here in Pisces. Okay, this year in anyways in particular, this is the people. So, if you guys don't know, Ceres and Vesta, I do use them in some of these like predictive charts. Namely, there are the two largest asteroids in the asteroid belt. They make a combined 1/3 of the entire mass of the asteroid belt. They're huge. Ceres has what they've discovered is like basically an ocean of water. It's not like all on the surface per se, but it's in there. Vesta has its own substrate. I think Ceres and Vesta have their own gravity. They were minor planets until the 60s. They absolutely have an impact. And the way that I got this information is I actually tracked them. I didn't just take what they were named and run with it. But anyways, I have found that Ceres is very similar to Libra. And here, with the descendant, it becomes societal in nature. Okay, it's tied up with like the material world, the people running around in it. Now here in Pisces, again, this is going to be more karmic, more spiritual. People are disassociating from the system. Okay, and we already see this. This is not a surprise. It's not any news. But this will continue to happen probably throughout the year, and this is probably going to be a big issue. Now, the next thing we see, and again, they're not perfectly conjunct, but close enough in the sky to where they're having an influence. We have the vertex here. I'll pull up my anti-vertex too. Hold on. What am I doing? Outer planets, yes. And I want my anti-vertex here. Let's do it. All right. As you can see here, we have very close proximity between vertex in Vesta and vertex and Vesta in or anti-vertex over here on the outside. Both of these are basically pulling in. This is, in my experience, Vesta is a health and wealth placement. Okay. So like Niki said, we have new people coming in the administration who maybe might try to get like some of the health stuff situated. Financially though, this is a time of reckoning. Okay. It's make or break. I'm not saying this is a financial collapse. What I am saying is if they don't if the United States doesn't get it together, that it's coming up. Okay. Like it's all about to, kind of fizzle and whatnot. As I said before, so this affects the entire year, even though, yes, there's a certain time period around midsummer where we get the conjunction between Venus and Uranus, where I think that they act very nice together. It also happens to be very close in the proximity of the sky. It's not quite the Uranus return, but very similar. I think this is a good thing. And again, this is not necessarily upheaval in my experience, but more making new friends, allies, coming to the table. This is really good for making peace deals. Here in Taurus, this is going to bring more listening and trying to be objective as opposed to doing like irrational, emotional stuff. So I think that's good. We also happen to have Jupiter return right around the same time period. This is a change year. Okay. They're not, and we can already see this, but if we didn't know anything about it, we can tell you this is lasting change that's going to affect everybody. And again, you guys, this is the United States solar return. I'm not doing every country on earth because that would definitely take too long. And we kind of already glazed through the global stuff. Now, what is very interesting is this very close conjunction between transiting Uranus and the North Node and thus the South Node. Now, this is Mercury is getting information. Okay. It's like, that's the planet that I said, if you watched it throughout the day, you would see when you're getting news, you're hearing your phone go off because you're getting messages. It's really bizarre. I swear to you, this happens. Okay. This is getting some news and information and insight, which is going to affect the country on a deeper level and on a spiritual level and actually change the direction of everything. Okay. So I can't tell you because there's no disclosure planet. There's no, I can't tell you exactly what this new information is, but it's definitely a big shift. Okay. What else do we see in here? We have the ascendant this year conjunct with Saturn. This is, again, in this position, it's going to be a societal situation, very much related to health, wealth, particularly more on the financial side. Again, I don't see this being financial collapse just based on the conjunctions, but it is a time of reckoning. And if they don't get it together, all hell's going to break loose probably in the following year. And what's interesting is if you watch the solar returns from year to year, you'll actually see they tell a story and they flow very easily into one to the next. So let me go here. I'm going to pull out some of these conjunctions and just pick them apart real quick. Again, Uranus, partnership planet, sextile. And I don't work with anything less than a sextile, you guys. If it's like not in one of these major aspects, it's not really, it's like worthless to try to find it. Nobody has time. Well, maybe some people have time for that. I definitely don't. But this is, again, getting some new information, new partnership. This looks like a peace deal to me. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying world peace, okay? But this looks good. I also think the midheaven Imam Chayli, these aspects, obviously, because they're in opposition, you're going to get this trine and sextile as a result here with Venus. This is probably softening things up a little bit. I don't see this as a war trait. And as I said before, we have the conjunction, close proximity with our, in the main part of the chart with Uranus. So I think that this is more partnerships, more deals. And again, this looks good. Now, this potentially not, well, let me go. Yeah, I'll do this one first. Okay. So squares, even though I don't get behind the idea that any of the aspects are inherently good or negative, I have seen a correlation between squares creating challenges. These are challenges like going to the gym. Going to the gym is hard for a lot of people. When you're at the gym, you're working out, it's stress on your body, okay? But doing it gives you an immediate beneficial result. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword here. Yes, there's stress involved with the square, but if you face the challenge and you run with it, you end up getting like this positive result. Okay. Mars in this context very much acts like this is a stress placement. Okay. A Mars square, we're going to get stress. We're going to get overthinking. We're going to get egos involved. This is definitely dealing with the partnerships. There's definitely some strain in here. Okay. So even though I said, yes, this thing, peace deals, whatnot, probably also going to be burning some bridges. Okay. So not great. Could this be, it doesn't show up like financial stress here. I'm going to say it's more like, you know, civility and like working together or potentially causing more problems with someone else. We also have an opposition with Mars and Ceres. Now, oppositions are not bad. I can prove it to you right now. Okay, that anybody who's ever told you opposition is negative, I'm gonna debunk it right now. Okay. The moon is opposite the sun every single month, and that's what gives us the full moon. And that is the time when everybody reports that, you know, people have more energy. They don't sleep as good, you know, because they're just bounding with all this energy. There's nothing negative about this. This is just a different type of conjunction. And it just happens to be that the alignment is on either side of the planet. So nothing negative in here, but it's not quite as intense as a regular conjunction in my experience. Anyways, this is sensitivity though. Mars is a sensitivity planet, and it's gonna increase the sensitivity to Ceres. Now, even though I just got done on this big rant about this is not a negative thing, this could potentially be some, you know, like the masses being very upset and really either being taken for a ride. You know, there could be lots of crying. I don't know exactly, but this actually is a little concerning. I can't say exactly because it's the solar return and it's not, we're looking at specific dates. We do have to be careful about is this a one-time event that happens during the year, or is it an overall energy? I would have to say it's probably more likely to be an overall energy, not discounting the stuff that we talked about earlier on the video. Jupiter conjunct with, we already talked about that, right? Jupiter, well, we kind of did, her in the sky at the same time. I think that this is a good thing. This is a creativity placement. This is good for the individual in particular. A little bit of this issues here with the moon square Uranus. This is, again, going to cause some turbulence with some of the United States' partnerships in particular. You guys, it's going to be a chaotic year, but not necessarily for you as an individual. You're probably going to get more of the same, whatever that's been. But like for the country at large, there's new deals being made, and there's a lot of ties that are being severed. So it's not always going to be comfortable for the United States. They're not getting out of this without, you know, like they're just not. But it's not all negative either. There's definitely some positives. There's new opportunities showing up. I don't see so far the stuff that people normally ask me about. They ask me about like financial collapse and war and whatnot. I don't see an actual hot war just based on this. I just don't. I haven't compared like Russia and America's charts to, you know, it might show up in there, but based on everything that I've seen today, I just don't see it. I also don't see a global collapse, like financial collapse this year. There may be little blips in the, you know, maybe big blips in the market that probably level off relatively quickly. I wouldn't pull all my money out of anything if you know, have like stocks, or that's not the type that we're looking for, but there's definitely turbulence, but they seem to come. There's that early part of the spring, maybe even late winter, early spring, midsummer, and then a little bit in like the September timeframe. Niki, do you have anything to add while I have this chart up?
No, my God, you hit like everything how I wanted to. Yeah.